tolerators. This is To All the Men I've Tolerated Before with Natalie Katona, your weekly look at everyday misogyny. Today, our guest is Amy, who I met through Chelsea Devontis's fantastic Behind the Bangs program. Amy is an Emmy award-winning TV editor, and she's here to talk to us about the everyday misogyny she's experienced during her life and career. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you for wanting to sit down and give me up to an hour of your time.
No problem. I'm here for it. In my industry, I feel like everybody is kind of discriminated against, and they're all the ways. So I'm here to give you my little
Just
sliver of it.
your chapter of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, why don't you give the listeners a little bit more background information on you and your career?
Totally. I moved to New York City. I ran here. Went right after I graduated college. I grew up in Mississippi. And it was great, public school education, state school, but I just needed out of there. So I came to New York with $200, credit card, not much, and started to forge my way in the film industry because I felt like film and TV was a fun medium to dabble in with the video, audio, writing and editing. So even though I didn't study that in school, I really had to learn by doing. So I did a lot of years of grunt work, reception work and then writing at night. And so eventually I made my way into editing and editing reality television in particular. And so I've been doing that for about 10, 15 years, more than that. But the point is that every step of the way, there were challenges as a girl from a small town in a big city might face. And a lot of adversity could be because of skill level, knowledge, how green I was in the beginning, and how hard it is to make it in the industry, witnessing certain things along the way, not really being able to parse it with the cultural information I had. And I just fought my way to build my career. And, editing in particular is a very isolating part of the craft where you're in a room by yourself, and it's actually really great for people who are a little more introverted or artistic, but it makes you maybe a little bit more vulnerable as well, because you don't necessarily always have other folks to talk to. So yeah, it's been a great time. I love the work, but it's comes with its hardships for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you for reality TV. I'll just thank you for all of it, like you conceptualized it. Uh, Reality TV is how I got an honorary psych degree that I gave myself.
Yep.
And we, oh, to all the men I've tolerated before, could make a killing off of reality TV alone and the misogyny that presents itself. Are you able to enjoy watching reality TV as an editor of reality TV?
Before I got into the business, that particular genre rather, I watched one show and it was House Hunters International and maybe
Oh,
DIY stuff. I was never into the shows themselves, and now I might watch something I've cut to see how it online, how they colored and sound mixed it, just to see how it looks. And that's mostly what I watch.
listen, that's probably for the best
Never
because,
Meet Your Heroes, maybe? I don't know.
hey, or never be me at 10 o'clock every night with barely gripping onto my last shred of sanity and brain power as I'm screaming at the television for another endless episode of Love Island where I don't like anybody this season, and yet every night they got me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's funny.
it's so
I know
oh
the folks who work on that. Good
well,
people.
well, they're sure. They're putting me through a roller coaster. It's mostly
Oh,
the cast.
oh, they
It's
did their job.
they
You
did their
say it's the
job.
cast, but it's how the editors edited the
Well,
cast
and
and
I guess
producers.
I guess we have to thank you, and or if we end up on reality TV shows, make sure that we ask you how to sweet talk editors so we get the good edit because everyone's always holding out for the good edit.
Oh man, I'll tell you right now, it is not the editor who is responsible for a bad edit. It's the budget, it's the schedule, it's how they finagled it, among many other factors. Just so you know.
I think we're in this like whole new realm of reality TV where like our generation, like my generation, the millennials, we're actually just going to talk openly about like, yeah, I talked to a producer for 25 minutes and they showed you 3 minutes of it, so you decide whether or not you got the full story. Like,
Yeah, I mean, look, my joke is do you really want to watch a 30-minute raw footage of a house tour,
right,
right?
no.
Like nobody does. You want it to be like 2.5 minutes. You want some befores and afters. Bam, moving on. So there, when you cut out all that time, it's definitely just to hone in on what you care about.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's my guilty little pleasure. Um, and it both gives me faith in humanity if I'm watching the
Mm.
Great British Bake Off and rips my faith of humanity right out of my body if I'm watching Married at First Sight.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. I do have that one of the ways when we had our pre-chat, we talked about how misogyny kind of plays out within a work environment is we talked about the underlying anger behind the misogynist, but how they present themselves more in a passive, kind of aggressive, but you can't actually call it aggressive if you fill out a form with HR, and just like a real woe is me, sad, aren't you on my side kind of vibe.
Yeah. There's a lot of times where you're with your teammates. Like I know in my heart and mind, I feel genuinely with colleagues who you're bouncing ideas off of and working with and trying to problem solve with. Like, you're just a professional doing your job. And what I feel like I was naive about for decades of my life, where I was just like, that's what I thought we were doing. And then conversely, there are situations where they misunderstood my friendliness or camaraderie, or they viewed me as perhaps somebody they could take things out on because they were frustrated, inexperienced, upset. I don't know. Maybe I said too much or whatever. And just they just felt the need to exact, I don't know if the word revenge is correct, but just like let it out on you.
Yeah, it's like an unleashing of an ego attack when you weren't actually sure that that person had an ego because of how like down on themselves they're always presenting themselves, or frazzled, or like, oh, like I'd never do this, but and they it reminds me of like how we've kind of turned the story on like, hey, I don't actually want to work on a job that is like, oh, we're just all family here, because family are the people who ruin Christmas for me every year by like making me give weird uncles hugs. So I don't want to deal with that at work.
I know. It's true.
Like,
And the weird uncle thing, the dancing around folks do for the uncle
mm-hmm.
versus protecting the female child.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what I spent most of my 20s doing in jobs is dancing around invisible male feelings and or egos just to be like, and at the end of the day, everything's going to get done that needs to get done. Like for me, it was just very much a part of the productivity of it. Like, well, in order to get this done, I'm going to have to laugh at five of his jokes, tell him, oh, I am so sorry that someone said that to you in a meeting. And of course, you were brilliant and right. And literally just like grit my teeth through it until I can sit down and get my job done and do what I actually need to do for the day. And that's how I'm looking back on it. But when I was younger, I was a full participant in that culture where I'm like, this is part of it. You just babysit. You babysit feelings, you babysit egos. Like it's part of being a team. It's being a good team member. It's part of like being a good work friend, a work wife, like and what it is it's icky and exhausting.
Well, it's part of the job. They are who, you know, who need to be coddled are the boss whose guidance and diplomacy you respect and need to maintain so they can do their job of keeping you employed. So you have stakes in the situation. In addition to the workflow convenience of just gaslighting them, wrangling them, you know, the talent, wrangling the talent, having them behave in the way you need to. And it's just a version of that. And I'm not sitting here condoning what happened to you or what happens to me at work, but it's definitely managing up. And women have a particular way they must do it.
Yeah. Where I remember sitting down at a employee review, like a mid-year review or something, um, and learning a bunch of things about myself that I did not know, that I was catty, that I was gossiping, that I was
Right.
making jokes at his expense. I think what ended up happening was I was liked and people laughed near me. So his insecurities wrote a story in his head that, I was getting a lot of clout off of his work and also making a fool out of him. And
Like almost at his expense. Like you couldn't be successful in your own merits. It had to be for some reason, some narrative he drew.
right. Or just by being in a room, or just by being myself, or just by being good at my damn job, even
Yeah.
though I was the newbie and the more inexperienced person on our team, it was like, well, what you're doing is you're taking attention. Like I think like when I watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives and I watch and like they talk about how they like, oh, well, in our culture, like we had to be submissive, we had to be silent or
Keep
whatever.
sweet.
I was like, yeah, we have to do that at work too.
Yeah. No, I can attest to the fact that you know, in business and school, you're always told that failure is part of your success, and also if you don't ask for it, then you won't get it. And the worst thing that could happen is they'll say no, and it's not a big deal. So always ask. Okay, so I'm kind of governed by that. Like if I feel, and I also self-regulate. Like I don't just spaz out and try to be boss on day one, but I do want to eventually move up the ladder. So I will, as a rule, just make sure like, okay, if I have that idea, I'm going to have it out loud because otherwise nothing will come of it. And so I give it a shot. And I can't even count the times that I feel like that was absolutely the nail in my coffin to have expressed myself in an ambitious way. I mean, I can't count them. It's like anytime I confess that I'm interested in something other than keeping my nose down and doing the very job that everybody's there to do, it's not all that welcome.
Yeah, I was hired in at a job, the same job where I had the toxic peer review, and I was told, we're a nonprofit. Nonprofits have to work together. Like, sure, you're in this department, but if people are setting up for an event in this department and they need bodies, and you should be more than happy to help. Well, then, because I am full of whimsy and wonder, and I loved the subject that I was working in, I was working in theater. I got curious and I got good at asking questions and talking to people and taking them up on like, sure, I'll talk to press or I'll watch the press release or I'll walk the Broadway people from place to place or whatever, because I like people and I like theater and I like getting to know things about theater. And boy, I think I think it was, sure, you have to help other people out and you have to help the other departments out, but we actually hate them and we don't actually want them to do well. And the fact that you're actually enjoying your time with them means that you're not giving all the energy that you could be doing to my goals. And it's like, oh, well, that's what you should have said in my hire process is that we secretly hate everybody, but we got to help them.
I know. I mean, if nothing else, it's a parameter you must compute in your problem-solving challenge, you know. If you're boxing them out, let me know and I'll build the wall. But there's been a handful of times, uh, there's been a number of experiences, but one that's standing out, giving me PTSD right now in my mind, is where I was hired to fix a show. And so I went in there all gun ho, ready to fix it. And it turned out I wasn't supposed to be doing that, but the production company needed me to do it. And that's obviously a problem because if you had told me that the other parties weren't necessarily in on the fixing, then I could have navigated it way more informed. I would have been able to have conversations. So, or made choices and presentations with that in mind. And what's lame about it is not every editor, so everybody in my position has surely been in a weird self-sabotage situation, slow motion train wreck that you can't stop. But how you come out on the other end with a poor relationship with the filmmakers or the network or whoever you're working with, it's just inevitably going to last and not help you along the way. And it just is piled on with all the other stuff. And that's the thing about women or people of color navigating the world is you always have that extra thing to think about. You always have that other layer of consideration. But then the people who get the most mad about it, the bosses or insecure people or the, you know, supervisors, the people in charge, they don't like that feeling either. And like 99% of what they do is combat that feeling by trying to contain you, trying to make you stop making them feel bad. And it's just weird to me. It's like, why not talk it out and figure it out together? There's another situation where I was an assistant, it was many years ago, where the male peer did not like what I said or how I acted. Who knows why? I can sit here and pontificate that he was insecure, frustrated, whatever. It doesn't matter. He took me to have drinks after in a friendly conversational way and then proceeded to try to tell me how to act to make him feel better. And I took it in and was young at the time ish. I wasn't super aware. Me Too hadn't happened yet, all that jazz. So I just didn't have it click at the time. But in retrospect, I was like, oh, he was just building a buffer around his own discomfort by commanding me to behave in the way that he needed me to feel better. And you could say he does that to everybody, but I have a feeling he was probably upset being the female colleague and then that he could do that to me being a female colleague. I'm sure the man in his mind didn't sit there and go, I really hate women, I'm going to pick on one today. You know, they don't do that.
No.
It's probably just as baked in to them as it is to us to accept it.
Well, and to them, they've decided that that's what leadership is. Leadership is trying to mold you into the box that makes them feel the most comfortable, makes them feel like the work's getting done in the way that they want to get it done. Whereas I think you and I think, well, leadership is bringing people to the table, talking things out.
Solving the actual problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you want to talk efficiency, like just get to it. But, we're talking about the higher levels of office, like presidents and world leaders and dictators also, or countries who are trying to negotiate something. You have to be aware of them and what they feel like, and work with them. There is an element that's legit about that. Like, I would be considerate to China and their customs if I were to do business with them. But, or if I go to anywhere else in the world, I would understand that they need me to present in a certain way. But then there are limits to that.
Yeah. Well, and I think also it's, and again, because you're the person who's like low on the payment scale or in the ranking of the office or whatever, it's like, well, of course, no one cares about my feelings or whether or not anything is weighing on me today. But I remember just like how much of a threat it was anytime I advocated myself and went, listen, I'm burnt out, but I know exactly where my burnt out point is. And it's because this scenario has a really broken system that we use day in and day out. And we know that it's slow and we know that it's clunky and we know that it's not a great communication style. And we know that it's really not serving our students because I was a teacher or our clients or our customers or whatever. But you just keep telling me, well, that's how we do it though. But this is where your employee's burning out. This is where all my frustration lies. And then all of a sudden it's, well, I didn't know that you were so unhappy. No, I'm telling you that there's a solution, and it's a solution that will help from the bottom up.
They don't want the answers. I was just talking about this with a colleague the other day where um, the parameter is everything stays the same for them, and then everybody else do cartwheels. And like I said, when you're dealing with like other folks on the outside, yes, you do that. But then the limits are that in your home, in your workplace, where you deal with each other day in and day out, you're like, you have to be malleable. And the best bosses are like that. I'm not saying have a full on open door policy, because obviously people exploit it or think they're your friend and might get a little warm and fuzzy that way. But have boundaries. But it's just straight up trying to change somebody else's behavior to make you feel better. And they don't view it that way. They see it as, this is the thing that's making me uncomfortable. This person is doing the thing. How do I make it stop? Versus, let's break this down, see what's going on. And you're 100% right about how you're because you're lower on the totem pole, so to speak, you might not be regarded as someone with feelings that matter. But the thing is like, even if you take the humanity out of it and don't care about that person, you should still care about the person in that role not doing the job well because of all the things.
Right. And I think part of it, I always like squint at it and I'm like, are you fighting me on this because we don't have the budget, even though I found the budget, or you don't want to personally learn a new thing? Or are you truly fighting me today because somehow me telling you, they've updated that software and we should really think about getting it has hurt your ego or bruised you in somehow or made you feel a certain way, and like your inability to process your own feelings, it has now become my week.
Absolutely. And it just feels so boring
I love that
to
it
deal with.
is.
Yeah. I have like things to do. I'm
I'm
busy.
busy.
And you're making me stop and care about your feelings. But then conversely, they consider it stopping and caring about your feelings when you're having a meltdown about something. And it's like, well, I'm the person generating the thing.
Yeah.
I'm the one making the deadline and the crafts person. But I think it's kind of a cultural thing for everybody where we only value the entrepreneur self-starter type archetype, the caregivers, the crafts people. I mean, that's what we're going on about now, right? The working people are the ones who do the thing, yet they're the ones being most exploited.
Right. Well, and I was about to say that, like, because I'm the person, like, I can't handle being a CEO because I'm actually now wired to be busy 24 hours a day. And you're just sitting here finding reasons to be upset at people. I don't like to feel alive. I don't know.
Yeah, my husband calls it people who are looking to be a victim
Hmm.
will find it.
We'll find it. We'll
And
find it.
if they need a scapegoat, they'll get one,
Yeah.
you know? And if it happens to be misogynist problem solving, like, okay, who can I take down today that make me feel better? Then that's the case. And culture normalizes it. It's codified in our religions and the texts. It's in many laws. It's, in so many levels, in so many ways, how we do. I mean, you mentioned the Mormons, and the thing that always stuck, I worked on a Mormon show, and the thing that stuck out the most was the phrase, keep sweet.
Uh,
And I don't even have words. It's like, okay, I can be nice, but that's not what they mean.
that's not what they mean.
Yeah.
But also, like, how often have we as women in a workplace been told, well, did you deliver it nicely before you went in and said that that didn't work? Did you at least polish it up? Did you say, hey, there's real potential here? I really like the navy blue that you picked. There are dozens of typos, just dozens, and I circled them, but you really did a great job with that banner. I'm still proud of you and understand that why you make tens of thousands of dollars more than me. So congratulations.
Somebody said, a director, she said to me, "Do you want what do you want for B-roll, which is the footage that covers the story?" And I just thought of stuff. I was like, "Oh, here's a list." I am accused of being very literal. If you ask me a question, I will answer it, which is to my detriment. Because how it applies to what you just said is it's like I didn't say, "Oh my God, the stuff you shot so far has been amazing. I love it. It's so good. What? You're brilliant. Can you also get me this stuff?" You know? And I wasn't being critical, but the person on the other end took it that way. And it's like, whatever. And I always wonder, it's anecdotal, but what if a male editor had asked for a B-roll list, And would the director have handed it better? Sorry, handled it better? Or differently, but because it was the dynamic that it was, I definitely feel like that contributed to my downfall. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
it really is just hard to feel. First off, I have the same problem where if you ask me a direct question, I just give a direct answer
Right.
because we're not dating. It's not
Mm.
Tinder. I don't have to gaslight you. You don't have to gaslight me. No one's getting laid at the end of this. Like,
And it's faster.
and it's faster. And I'm usually in between meetings or calls or I,
Right.
breathing. I don't like, we're busy. And so you ask me something and I give an answer. There were so many instances where someone would walk into my office and they'd go, hey, Natalie, what do you think about having two science shows on the layout this year for the season? And I go, it's almost like you're taking your science audience and now they have to make a choice. So they're
Mhm.
naturally splitting into two. And the shows were underperforming. We had one that we always had, and then we had one that was new, and we split the audience. That's what happens when funds are tight and time is tight or whatever. And
Yeah.
to me, that was just like a logical answer. I addressed the problem. You're looking at numbers and going, now, Natalie, why are things underperforming? And I'm going, you took one audience and you split it into two.
Yeah.
You gave them a choice and now not everyone
But
can
they
afford
didn't
milk.
like it. They didn't
It,
like it.
mm-mm,
You
no.
get you broke the system of what they were already thinking. So,
Well, because Well, and because that person thought that they were brilliant for booking both, because
Mm,
now people have options, but they didn't think about, well, options means that not everyone ends up in column A and column B.
right.
Options means that you split. And we, and it would just be beating your head against the wall. And it would happen with like picking what brochures are going to look like or something where it's like, we can talk about this for 2 hours, but at the end of the day, we just need one thing. we just, and we just need it to be done
Yeah.
because you keep harassing me that it's not done. And I bring it to you every day, and you're just like, I don't know about the crimson. And it's like, okay, well, while you call your therapist about the crimson, can I at least give marketing some sort of update?
Right. But no, y'all have to have a 12-point discussion on Crimson.
Well, and I also think that we call it office politics, but what it is truly just how, as society, we view women. So it's like if I just boldly say something like, well, I don't like crimson, now I'm a nag and a threat, and I'm being mean and I'm being catty for no reason, and I'm your wife that you hate at home because
Yeah.
that's how you have been conditioned to view women who have thoughts and words. And if I
It's
um
projection, you
it's
know.
projection.
Yeah.
And I also think that like so often because women aren't trusted in our society either, because we're all Eve biting the apples and we're all whores, like just bothering everybody. Um, that I you're telling me to make a decision. I keep making decisions. You hate my decision. Why would I trust myself to make a decision that you don't trust me to make? And it's just a cycle like that all the time.
Yeah, that's brutal because then it's like walking on eggshells. You're just trying to pick the thing. And look, a lot of times it could be just the individual who isn't good at making decisions or isn't sure themselves. A lot of times you're dealing with folks who are scared to say A or B on a thing because they might be wrong. And then that's where it comes in being like making fails is then unacceptable and difficult and challenging. And they project that stress down the ladder.
Yeah. No, and I think that is a lot of it too, where it's the scapegoat thing, where it's
Mm,
like, well, if I get to go to a meeting and everyone hates our poster, I get to say, well, Natalie really pushed for Midnight Blue. She said it was her favorite blue. So
right.
now everyone please hate Natalie, if you would please.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I've never made it. And I see that in a lot of personal relationships too, where it's like, well, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. And it's just how they get to step back and be in charge of everyone's time and mood and all of it, but also never be the person who's at fault.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I always wonder, I want more controlled tests on the matter. I'd be curious if it's literally because they just seek out the weakest person, and then by definition, that society gives you the female as the weakest, or the youth, maybe. Is that why they choose these scapegoats? But it's definitely by design, even if it's on a larger level impacting the individuals. Because sometimes, I'm sorry to say, women do it too, but they do it from a different perspective. Female bosses, they're doing it from I fought my ass off to be here right now. I was subjected to all this stuff, so let me turn like just make it hard when
Yeah,
it's just so unnecessary and again time consuming. I can't even tell you how much longer it takes to do everything 'cause they're so busy coddling all of the feelings,
all of it.
all the
I am
feels.
too much of a Capricorn to coddle anybody. I've never been good at it. And I was an elementary school teacher. I taught
Mm.
kindergarten for a year and I couldn't even coddle those kids. Like,
Yeah, and kindergartners shouldn't well, okay, that comes into a whole parenting thing. It's like, do you really wanna pick your kid up every time he falls? Like, he's gonna become a person who doesn't independently maybe that's how all these dudes get created,
yeah,
actually.
honestly. Well, and it's also I I don't think that they know how to process things that we've just made a part of everyday life for women, things like shame and uh envy.
Anxiety.
Yeah, and hating the other person in the room who looks like you because it's the one woman in the room that is also speaking. So now no one's being like neither one of you is being heard.
Yeah.
And like surely because they're human, they also have felt shame at some point. But instead of doing what I do, which is internalizing it and turning it into an ulcer before it becomes a joke,
Mhm.
ah, they lash and they're like, well, my shame isn't my problem. That's, and then they just find the weakest person in the room to
Yeah.
push it off to.
Yeah, and then to get into the psychology of it, I consider myself a video anthropologist. Um, and meanwhile, I never took a psych class, but just from my experience, whatever phantom is haunting the person who does these things, in my case, I'm thinking of a boss from like way back, like 2003. I was an office manager, and he was miserable about his lot in life. He wanted to be an actor. He thought he was so great. And he would roll in late, have pull everybody away from the work, have a meeting, and literally make us sing songs in a circle while he played guitar to soothe him for whatever made him feel bad earlier that day, like an interaction with a person on the subway or some fight he had with his wife. And when he was satiated, we would all go back to our office and our desks and do the thing. And then he would need everybody to stay late because he was late and because we weren't doing our, and it was just like this endless cycle of like abuse. And the female, I guess she was an executive level person, would wake up on Sunday morning with knots in her like physical knots, physical manifestations of the stress, uh, to because she had to go to work the next day, and that's how much anxiety she dealt with, and it's a real thing. The way and it rewires your brain. I just read that headline today from a study that that sort of constant pressure to do whatever is it it's neurologically like changing you.
Yeah. Well, luckily for me, my invisible task list of catering to people's unspoken feelings started at home.
Mm. Yeah.
It started in my home life as a child. So by the time I entered the workforce and these men
Got it.
had invisible expectations of me, I was like, and I will guess them correctly and meet them. Don't even worry about it.
Yes, the ESP are supposed to have. Oh my God. But it's funny that in therapy you learn how you need to be reparented. So when you're like 40, 30 years old going to therapy, it's like, okay, let's start the sessions by going back in your childhood and rewiring your brain. I mean, that's basically what you should do in cognitive behavioral therapy or something, because there's the physical and then there's obviously this social construct and it's all intertwined, which brings us to television, right? Reality television is the conveyance reinforcing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when I'm boggled by, honestly, it was Married at First Sight and a little bit of Love is Blind that made me go, oh, I really have to start leaning into how I find women to be more attractive and more charming than men. Because if this is how they talk about us when we're not in the room, that is somehow worse than what I imagined they said when we're not in the room.
Or think, there's that phrase locker room talk where we're clearly objectified. Women could say they do it too when they talk about their hot boy, whatever. But it's, the way that they then internalize it and then go out into the world. You said something earlier that made me think about the version of the colleague at work who sizes you up, whether you're somebody who will play ball or not. And the minute that ball is dropped, like you say, I'm married with a kid or whatever it is that takes you out of the running, then they start regarding you differently. I think in a lot of cases, whoever it is just needs to stop thinking of you in those terms. And I get along the best with guys with sisters, or smart and active wives, or have daughters that they love and respect. I get along with dudes with daughters, because I come off as the rambunctious kid who they had or what can relate to, or the sister. And I wish all guys were like that. Why do I need to be anybody you think about in those terms? And I think that affected me deeply many, many years ago, where everything I do is to make sure I have merit. And every job I ever got fired from said, we like your work, but I never got fired for not being able to do the work and be good at my job, which might sound alarm bells. Well, isn't that illegal? And it kind of is. But, they don't always say that. I had one executive producer tell me that the producers, the other people, nobody on the team liked me, quote unquote. And he said, you did really good work. Thanks for doing the things, but they don't like you. And it just blew me away. Like, that was the one time I can remember, if out of like maybe two in my whole career, that I cried, because I put so much into making sure I am collaborative and caring and considerate of everybody's feelings and thoughts and visions. Like, I'd like to think of as myself as the kind of artist that embraces the assignment. And if there are lots of chefs in the kitchen, I can figure out what they want for the soup. I can do that. That's what I'm really good at. And to be told that one time as an anomaly, I knew, because it was an anomaly, that he was either collected those responses for real, but it was only because he was the boss soliciting them, or he was just saying whatever it took to get me out of there, to intimidate, to abuse me.
Well, it's like that, oh, don't worry about her. She's a guy's girl. Like, she's one of us. Like, it's fine. And then the moment that you do, like, you just have it, and they've said something completely egregious about their assistant or the woman who we had to collaborate with on something with or whatever, and you go, hey, calm it down. Like, you don't even correct them. You just go, that's a little hot. Like, let's roll it back. Then all of a sudden they're like, it's like a betrayal. It's like, oh, but you were our friend. You were supposed to be one of us. We let you into the club.
And having been in that situation myself, I'm trained to not do that. I will never, or I didn't at the time. I wonder how I'd be these days. But at the time, it's like, okay, I'm sitting in a room before a meeting. The guys, the bosses, the fellow who hired me and his boss, and a third guy, were all in the room together and discussing the meeting they had with the executive. And they kept saying she gave good meeting. I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, whatever. And they just, that was just the beginning. It snowballed from there. And I'm just the editor waiting to play it down for the network executive or whatever for the screening of the rough cut. And I said nothing. And it took, and this is a lesson in why men have a part in this also. It was the third fella who was like, okay, guys, can it? We're working. And he did that probably for my benefit, but also just general decency. Like, A, you're demeaning the female lady who's your boss, like, probably because you feel small around her. And then you're also violating my space and ears by just being gross. But I am that kid who plays ball, that girl who's like, oh God, whatever you guys need to say to each other, blah, like, it happens all the time. And I might judge them and not like them and not want to work there, but I mean, I hate to say it, but it's also kind of part of the gig, you know, at at my job or anybody's.
Well, and that's why in the tagline for the podcast, I always call it everyday misogyny. And I go, and I mean that. Like it's subtle, it's silent, it's ingrained, it's everywhere, and it's in every interaction that we have. There's a layer of it. There's a layer to white privilege that every interaction I'm going to have in my day is going to have. And I do get to the point where I'm like, it is actually that guy's job to be like, guys, knock it off. It's not my job. I'm the victim here. Like, I am the person, like, it would be like me just waiting around for a Black person to ask people nicely to stop using slurs. No, I'm going to be the one that runs my mouth to be like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, what is coming out of your mouth today?
Yeah, in that case, the onus can't always be on Black folks to talk about racism or a racist moment or a thing. You have to be the one with the privilege in your hand because you're the one with the power to say a thing. And then if you happen to also be a minority, as in a female, then you're back in the boat with everybody else. But it's when I raise my son who's a white kid and to grow into a man who understands his power and the universe and what he could possibly do and be in it. It's something I think about as a parent. And most people don't, I figure.
No, they don't. I mean, because
I
I'm
want
what
to my sister, I'm sorry, I just wanted to break to my sister made the best compliment. She was like, "Well, he's never going to date rape anybody." And I'm like, "Yeah."
yeah, we've done it.
The child is only like 12 or 13. Sorry, everybody. But it's just like how the kids are raised also. And if the females in the child's life are also participating and training, that's just as powerful as having male role models.
And I'll probably cut this because like this is just the assumption that my sister and I made, but my 2-year-old nephew for the longest time did not think that the men in the room were possible. Like, if he brought them the book that he wanted to read, that they would be able to do it because that was something me, my mom, and my sister were always doing with them. Get a book, get a book.
Mm.
And finally, my brother in law was like, he never, I'll say, Joe, get a book. I'll read the book or whatever. He never lets me read the book. And my sister texted me
Huh.
one day and she went, well, Zach finally got his shot to read the book to Joe. And he looked so fucking shocked the entire time that Zach could read. I just think he's thought the entire time. Well, dad and grandpa don't read. They can't read. That's mom. That's mom and Aunt
Wow.
Nanny. So so I'm already teaching my nephew that men are ignorant. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
that's even better. No, it's definitely ingrained in that's I like the everyday misogyny thing, so it's just baked in. It's
Yeah.
right there, every layer. And to combat that on the micro level, it's just like, oh my God, I guess I'm doing something for the world, but yeah.
But yeah, no, that's why I keep it in because it is. It's just baked in. It's in everything that we do. And it does make people stop and go, holy shit. It is in the very small micro things that happen to me within a day that just prove to me that we've really gotten maybe a centimeter away from the misogyny that I think is big things like not being able to vote or own property or have a credit card or have reproductive rights. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. We
Well,
just,
it's relatively new in the larger scheme of things that we have those things, right?
yeah.
And right now in culture in 2025, I don't know when this airs, but the whole mentality that, well, the reason we're having problems economically, job wise, whatever, fill in the blank, it's because women have rights. Because women are taking the jobs, because they can buy the stuff, because black folks can own a business now. That's why the world is going to shit, because we're breaking up the nuclear family by letting women work. Like, fill in the drama. It's like, if you really view the world as a place where a man and a woman are implanted with the exact particular intelligence, ambitions, and things that men are only allowed to express, that's the problem. That's the literal, actual problem that goes back centuries, you know?
Yeah. I mean, they, I learned for the first time that the women's suffrage movement spanned at least two wars and took 88 years when I was writing a resource guide for children as an adult. And I cried at my desk. And someone went, Hadley, what's wrong? I go, I never did the math. I go, 88 years, two wars.
Yeah. And I don't know, I know that your show probably isn't wrapped around women's roles and the misogyny that men hold. But what I think is so interesting about the suffrage movement that I'm not an expert on, so maybe I shouldn't speak to it, but historically, different factions of feminists have been against each other. And one of the reasons I love to think about is during the suffrage movement, the East Coast liberal elite females were locking horns with the West pioneer women. And it's because they were problem solving differently. The East Coast ladies were trying to enact prohibition, which we know now was a terrible idea. And then in the West, those ladies had figured out how to hack the situation. And it was all brought to light to me thanks to Hollywood with the show Driftwood, where the female character sent the man character out to do her bidding, and that's how she exercised her power. So she came off as appropriate and ladylike and doing the thing. And even though they might give her a little bit of side eye, like, "Are you the boss here? I don't know about that." She got away with it because she figured out how to use Timothy Oliphant. And meanwhile, of course, that person, that liberal lady, or that feminist woman who has the intelligence, who has the ambition, and she's figured out her tribe, she does not want anybody else out there telling her to how to be, how to not do that. You want bodily autonomy, or telling her what she needs and wants, when really she's figured it out already. She knows how to deal with things. And I think that the lock and horns thing is real and persists all these decades later. We see it with Trump women and evangelical women. I haven't seen anybody speak to them about what they care about in their language. And so they just vote with their men because that's who keeps them warm at night, not the liberal lady in New York or whatever.
Well, you already made my point. I was going to say, of course, we talk about women upholding misogyny because white women came in droves to vote for Trump. We have to talk about it. We
Yeah.
have to hold ourselves accountable for shit like that. Well, let's go ahead and move into our closing ceremony. As you think about your career and where you started and where you are now, and how misogyny flavored it along the way, uh, what is a lesson that you would like to impart onto the listeners?
I will say that I used whatever adversity that came at me as fuel. And it drives me. And I don't even know if it's conscious, like, hey, why don't you go show up so and so today? Or revenge is best served cold, or I don't think along those lines, but it's always been, oh, I can't do that. Well, maybe I'll figure out how to. And just yesterday, I had an interview with a lady for my podcast where she was like, "It's because of all these parameters that were against me that made me really good at my job." So I would concur that it's just one more obstacle to jump over. I'm bored of it. I'm ready to move forward. And that lack of moving forward, my lawyer told me, my female lawyer told me, she's like, "Oh, that thing you're bumping up against, that's the glass ceiling." And I was like, "Oh my God." It was like an eye opener. So once I learned that's what it was, I then, navigated from that. So, I mean, the advice is just like, don't let it roll off your back, but just know it's part of the system and be ready for it when it comes at you. Because I didn't know. I spent a lot of decades super naive. You can't see it, but I have a placard that my dad got me that I've had for years on my wall. It says, "Girls can do anything." And that's what I thought for, like, the longest time, and I'm just way better at putting myself out there knowing that other people don't think girls can do anything.
Well, yeah, that's what 2000s girl boss feminism taught us that we can do anything. And,
Yeah,
and it's easy. You should just decide to do anything.
and it's unreasonable to think otherwise, like, this fantasy that people have that, "Well, women can only do this one." I'm sorry, everybody, you do not want me to be in charge of take care of your children. You just don't. I'm not just because I'm female, I don't need to be raising a bunch of babies, you know? I don't teach it how to count or do colors, and you don't want me to do that. So why are you prescribing that as my existence for me? Let me I mean, if you want to be godlike about it or into it, it's like, let me use what God assigned me as my talent or skill and be a person who does that thing. Just let it, like, what is the hang up? Because you feel bad because you can't sleep with me, because you can't do whatever you want. It's like, that's not all there is, bro.
And I know that you made a point that you weren't thinking about it in the terms of pettiness, but I always do. I'm always like, I will text someone and be like, "I made this really great contact today, and I was so charming and good at it. And I know that so and so would hate that I got to do that. And that is what will get me off tonight." Like that I secretly and somehow they know through the collective energy that I'm succeeding. And I know that they'll hate that. And that's going to feel so good for me one day.
Awesome. That's your assignment.
that's that's me. That so if you two were like, "But I love being petty," you know me too. You know that I've called 2025 the year that Kendrick Lamar gave us permission to be haters, and I've enacted that whenever I could.
Yes. I wish I could dance like him.
Oh my
No,
god.
I like his little shuffle. But no, it's yeah, I definitely had an awakening, like, late in life where I was like, I just didn't get it, or I was naive in so many ways, and that's kind of the thing about New York City is whatever dreams you had, whatever stars and eyes were there, shattered, gone, put out. And, it makes me a better artist for sure, but, it just gets annoying, and also the world doesn't benefit from it. Like, the reason everything's crashing and burning is because it's run by people who are trying to shoot a rocket to Mars without even thinking in tandem with it how to support human life on the way with cradle to cradle technology. Instead, we're running around coal rolling because 'cause we're mad at the leftist psychos, Greta, all the problems that they cause by existing. It's like, ugh, I guess it's just so goofy that that's what we're doing, but at the same time, we have to consider it's just a small amount of time, only decades in all of millennia that humans have existed, that we've, re-evolved back into folks who are like, "Oh, women are people and not property," that kinda thinking takes time and a lot of exerted effort to reprogram. And as we know, Martin Luther King Jr. said, arc bends in the long term towards justice. It takes a minute. So I think that's where we are. We're in that cusp of hopefully the patriarchy's death rattle as they go bye bye. and it hurts a lot. A lot of people are suffering right now. I'm just gonna see the light at the end of the tunnel and feel like we're just got to be the voice to make a change, be a part of the solution.
Yeah, a lot of people are suffering right now, and I'd like to take a moment to remind everyone that I don't care about the male loneliness epidemic. I don't I don't care. I just
Well, I do, and it's as a mother of a son.
well,
You
I'm
know,
hoping it's fixed by the time he has to date.
totally. But where do those guys come from? They come like Andrew Tate is a great example. He wrote his memoir and he's gross and he's awful and he human traffics and tries to get away with it. But if in his words, you can tell that he was abused by his dad. Does that excuse Andrew Tate and his bullshit? Nope. But it's informed, and you just then approach society as like, okay, we have to be more trauma aware. And so to bring it back around to my work is I really want to tell stories of people, making people aware of others, of trauma, of pain, because that just break the cycle of violence, break the cycle of violence.
What would be a manifestation that you would like to put out into the world? And feel free to say, I just did by saying what I wanted to do with my work, because that always works too.
Yeah, I mean, when I got into filmmaking, I like the medium of it because it is all the things. I'm just really into arts and crafts and stuff. And I always felt like the fear and the unknown and not knowing others and how they live has been part of the blight. But also folks who are isolated at home and getting child abused and then growing into humans realizing and being shocked and shattered by the reality that it's not normal to have been that. So I just want to create media and access everyone who might need a version of events that's correct, that's kind, empathetic, and relatable.
Yeah, I love that. What a great mission statement. You've been paying attention in Behind the Banks.
Oh, and what's funny is I feel so bad for not being more involved because I had like 12 projects that I just had to jump onto because I don't know if you've heard, but in our world in television, our jobs are kind of on pause until all the gods and CEOs figure out how to make money off streaming. So, with our free time, we're sitting around making things. So
Yeah,
maybe that's all we need is to be content creators on our own without the gatekeepers to get the messages out there.
just do it all behind their backs and
Yeah.
shock them when it's all done and good.
Yeah. I hope so, because I see my colleagues suffering. So it's like I want to talk about what's hurting everybody, So that's why I started the podcast behind the Carnival Barkers that's going to launch July 10th. But that is the reason why I feel bad I haven't been writing my script for Behind the Bangs.
Well,
So
we can't be working on all the things at all the time, I've
I know.
discovered. And it's dumb, and I wish we could.
I
uh,
know, right? I was
but
reading a productivity thing where it's like, just pick a thing, just one, and then do that. And it's like, okay, I'll finish the podcast first.
yeah.
So time management.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for investing time into this episode and sharing all of your wisdom and being someone that I can call upon when I'm frustrated about all of these things.
Oh, yeah. I love talking shop. Love it.
please, please let the listeners know by the time that this episode airs, your podcast will be out because we're
Okay.
on break until September. So
Got it. Oh, perfect. So yeah, so my pluggable is I launched a podcast July 10th. It's called Behind the Carnival Barkers. Do you hear my dog in the microphone?
we love dogs. It's fine.
Okay. He and my husband come home and so he gets the celebrate.
Yeah.
I don't get the barking, he does. Anyway, so now the dog is coming to report to me that he's home. But anyway, okay, sorry. So my pluggable is that I launched a podcast called Behind the Carnival Barkers, and it's a whole bunch of television industry industry people and editors talking about work and where it is and bosses and the life. So
I love it. I love that. Thank you so much once again for being here. And remember, tolerators, you I almost ended it without doing my own plugs. I
oh,
do that sometimes. You
it's
can
okay.
find us at Men I've Tolerated Pod on Instagram, to All the Men I've Tolerated Before on YouTube. Type in Natalie K124 and Men I've Tolerated Pod on a bunch of social media platforms. See what happens, or follow the link in the show notes to all of our socials and all of the places to follow me personally. And remember, tolerators, you don't have to smile through anything you're tolerating, including outdated, boring office politics that are really rooted in misogyny, racism, classism, pickenism, and should have gone by the wayside. Smiles are for joy.